TV on air. We are now live in 3, 2, 1. February 25th, 9:47 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 2. Welcome back to another exciting episode of Phoenix Wright, Ace Attorney. In the previous episode, we investigated the police chief's office. We found some missing evidence. We found another sheaf of half missing evidence from 2 years ago. And then Chief Gon talked to Emma all by herself that day. And we talked to Lana. And now we're suspecting that he's the suspect. If you're happy for today's episode, make sure to hit that like button. Spoilers, really appreciate it to the channel. This is defendant lobby, alright? But there's no defendant. I've been trying to reach Lana all morning. Where could she be? And where's Emma, for that matter? It's almost as if something's been happening behind the scenes. Or Edgeworth! Knowing you've already figured it out. Who the owner of the 7 ID card number is. I mean, there's 287, so... Well, I have pretty strong hunch. Looks like I'm not the only one who's figured it out. You know, the only reason this trial didn't reach a verdict yesterday is because there was still room for doubt on this ID record. If that number does belong to whom you suspect, then no doubt will remain. After all, he hasn't been officially charged with anything. True, not yet. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. On the defendant, 5 minutes after the trial starts, Lana will be found guilty. But she didn't do it! I figured you'd say as much. That's why I came here to hear what you have to say. This is the first time he's ever done something like this. Lana's hiding something, and the only way we'll ever know the truth is to draw it out of her. The truth. Everything goes back to the SL9 incident. Don't be stupid. Today's the last day of the trial. We don't have time to reminisce about the past. That depends on you. If she's found guilty, you'll lose your only chance to find out what really happened. I'll think about it. See you in court, Wright. This is it. If I'm ever going to find out what Chief Gon has on her, it's now. February 25th, 10 a.m. District Court, courtroom number 9. And all by... Court is now in session for the trial of Miss Ema Skye. Defense is ready, Your Honor. The prosecution is ready, Your Honor. Normally this is when the prosecution puts forth its opening statement. But before that, the police chief has a proposal to make. Chief Gant? Morning, folks. How's everyone doing? Hey, Eddie, been back to the pool yet? No, I've been drowning enough as it is in my work. Oh, that's a good one. Don't think I can top that. If you don't mind me asking, Chief, exactly what is the proposal of yours? Again, the long pause. Lana, that is to say, the defendant, has asked me if she could speak directly to the court. She wants to do what? Having heard what she intends to say, I feel she should be granted her request. In the end, it should save everyone a lot of time and trouble. So this is her testimony right now. What's this all about, defendant? I'd just like to make one simple request and I'll be finished. Well then, what's your request? Your Honor, I'd like you to put an immediate end to this trial. Huh? I confess to all charges against me. On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot on the prosecutor's office. No! Lana! Objection! You can't! Your Honor, the defendant's claim does not change the defense's plea. In that case, Mr. Wright, I no longer require your services. But Lana! Your Honor, I hereby forfeit my right to an attorney. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and
circumstantial evidence. I would like you to render your verdict now, if you please.
Well, the defendant certainly has the right to self-representation. The request is legally valid, although this is an unprecedented situation. Indeed, it appears there's no further need to continue this trial, even if Mr. Wright may feel otherwise.
This can't be happening.
It appears the time for the verdict has arrived. This court finds defendant.
Objection?
One moment, Your Honor. Mr. Edgeworth, the prosecution has not yet proven the defendant guilty beyond reasonable doubt. Any ruling at this stage would certainly be premature. Come now, Worthy. I understand this is a difficult time for you. Why don't you just be a good little boy and keep your mouth shut, I don't think that I care for your tone, Chief Gant. What? Creating another fabrication to cover up your past mistakes. Sorry, but I'm no longer the naive little boy you would have me be. With this sudden confession from the defendant, it's obvious to me some kind of deal was struck behind the scenes.
Some kind of deal, Not everyone operates as you do, Worthy.
I thought so. Your Honor, the prosecution would like to change its first witness. Oh, to whom? As its first witness, the prosecution would like to call Miss Ema Skye. I request the court hears her testimony.
Hold it. Mr. Edgeworth, I am exercising my right to self-representation. This is a mouthful. I don't think we need that.
I don't care what you think, Miss Skye. My exposure of the truth sometimes results in tragedy. However, no matter how tragic the truth may be, it would be an even greater tragedy to avert one's eyes from it. Very well, the court shall grant the prosecution request. That's okay with you, right, Chief Gant?
Worthy, you'll live to regret this, mark my words.
It's Ema Skye, please take the stand.
Looks like Edgeworth has decided to take the horse by the reins, whatever that means.
Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
My name is Ema Skye. My occupation, I'm Lana's little sister, and I want to be a scientific investigator.
2 years ago, you encountered the serial killer Joe Dark on the Joe Dark killings. Is this correct?
Yes. I'm trying to my hardest to forget about that, though.
I'm sorry, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to ask you to recall those events one more time. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then.
You sure gave in fast.
Now then, please testify about what happened to you 2 years ago.
The trip to yesteryear has finally begun. It's bound to lead to the truth behind this trial. Alrighty then. 2 years ago, I was waiting in my sister's office that day. A man came running in and took me hostage. The old marshal rescued me, but I'll never forget what I saw that instant. The man raised up his knife and stabbed Mr. Marshall in the chest.
It's a good thing you weren't harmed.
I passed out. I don't remember much.
That's understandable. However, please tell me, Mr. Edgeworth, what does this testimony have to do with Detective Goodman's murder? That will soon become apparent, Your Honor.
You've got to admire him for his courage, considering he has no evidence.
Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination.
Here we go now. 2 years ago. Okay, I think all we can do is just press answers. 2 years ago, the defendant was a detective at the police department, correct? Yes, she was second in command under Chief Detective Gant. My sister, she was the best detective ever.
Yes, I remember. Chief Detective Gunn and Miss Skye used to be quite the pair. I believe they shared the same office.
That's right. I'd always sit at my sister's desk and dream about playing that organ. I wanted to play it that day too.
The police department and the prosecutor's office had a ceremony that day.
Lana promised to take me to dinner after she finished her word.
A man.
Yes, Joe Dark. He was a serial killer.
Joe Dark was brought in for questioning on that day of the ceremony. We were desperate to get anything on him that would lead to the arrest. When he saw his chance, he fled the room, right? Upon fleeing the room, Dark proceeded to take the elevator. He must have been in a panic because the elevator was going up. Then he ran into Skye in Gunt's office.
There was a lot of noise coming from outside, so I opened up the door to have a look. That's when I saw him.
That should have been something.
What was the prosecutor doing there?
There were two people present during Dark's questioning. Detective Damon Gunn and Prosecutor Neil Marshall.
Gunn was there too.
Neil Marshall had just received the King of Prosecutors Award. Young and dedicated, he went straight to questioning room after the ceremony. I assume that would also be why he was the first to run after Dark.
When Dark grabbed me, I thought I was good as dead. And that's when Prosecutor Marshall came and running in. I don't clearly remember what happened then, but
can you tell us about that?
Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark just then. The lights went out.
The lights?
It was just about this time of year. There was a terrible storm going on and lightning struck nearby.
So the electricity went out. Wait a minute. If it was a pitch dark in that room, you shouldn't have been able to see anything, right?
Right, but just then lightning flashed again outside. That sudden flash left an unforgettable image of the scene in my mind.
I see.
I told the detective about what I saw then.
The detective?
Yes, Detective Goodman. He was in charge of the case.
Detective Bruce Goodman, the victim. Hear more. So you spoke with Detective Goodman about this 2 years ago?
Yes, that's what's so scary about this trial.
And you told Detective Goodman about what you saw?
Yes, but at the time, the words just wouldn't come out. That's why I drew a picture.
A picture? Yes, I think she mentioned that before. Well, Mr. Wright, have you heard enough? Ask about the picture. The picture the witness drew. I believe it has a very important meaning. Well, the list of evidence I was given 2 years ago didn't contain a picture. Witness, would you mind if we add this statement to your testimony?
Yes, Your Honor.
How? You drew a picture of the scene you witnessed, right?
Yes, I want to do everything I could to help the investigation. I can still see it now, whenever I close my eyes.
That's strange. I took over the case after Prosecutor Marshall died, yet I never received any picture. Perhaps the witness is mistaken.
But I did draw it, I swear! I'm not just imagining it.
This picture that Emma drew, that reminds me. I guess I should check the evidence again. Well, anyway, let's continue. The scene that imprinted an image in your mind. Can you please describe it to us?
The man?
What image? I don't remember anything with that. That must have been a real shock.
Even now, when I close my eyes, I can still see it just as clearly.
Tell us, what were you doing at that moment? I believe you testified that Joe Dark was holding you hostage.
When lightning struck and the lights went out, Mr. Marshall jumped on Dark. I was thrown aside, and the two began wrestling each other. I'm pretty sure I was watching them. Emma doesn't have any reason to lie, but Lana sure does. I need to get Emma to tell me as much about this as she can. Okay, what kind of evidence do we have? What's something that could have been lost? A clear handprint can be seen on the leather cloth. The print belongs to Emma. I think I'll keep this information to myself. I think we have to use this, because it has her prints, and she says it's been lost, but why? Can we get a zoom in on this evidence list? No. Oh, what the heck? I did not see that. A picture is drawn on the back of the evidence list in the magic marker. I've got a very bad feeling about this. Alrighty then, we got our hidden clue. Objection! Mr. Edgeworth. This little girl put all her heart into drawing that picture. Can we please? And yet you still insist on denying its existence?
Huh? Hey, I'm not the bad guy. All I'm saying is that as the prosecutor for that case, I wasn't handed such a picture.
That may well be, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Behold!
This is the evidence list for the SL9 incident?
Please turn it over, Your Honor.
Turn it over? Ah! What's this? Yes, what is that?
Can we please switch it? Hey, that's it. That's the picture I drew. Can we please have it horizontal?
Indeed. Two men appear to be wrestling here. What's the meaning of this? What are you doing with that list?
Me?
Only the prosecutor in charge should have access to that list. Huh. These lists, they're different from each other. What? It would appear, Mr. Edgeworth, that the evidence list you were handed 2 years ago was incomplete. These two lists fit together to form one. You can see the marks here where they were torn apart from each other.
So you see, Mr. Edgeworth, it's quite obvious what happened. 2 years ago, only half of the evidence in the case ever reached you.
What? Ugh. Order! Who'd have thought the picture would have been drawn on the back of the list?
I'd even checked. That was handed to Detective Goodman in the questioning room. Wait a minute. If this list was torn in half, then that means...
Your Honor! Are you alright, Mr. Wright? Your eyes are bulging from your head.
If the evidence list was torn in half, then there might be more of the drawing on the back of Mr. Edgeworth's list.
Yes, that's quite conceivable. Mr. Edgeworth? That's possible. Let's see. Is something wrong?
Do you even have to ask?
Hello? Sorry, Your Honor. There is something drawn on the back of my list. This is that thing.
Ah! Why?
That's... that thing. That thing that was dancing in the evidence room. Apparently, the head of the criminal affairs used this for his blueprint.
Apparently, the head of the criminal affairs used this for his blueprint? I guess he was out of scrap paper. Okay.
Very well, witness. Will you please testify about this picture you drew 2 years ago?
Huh? Oh, yes, sir, Your Honor. What's wrong with Emma? She seemed to be thinking about something when she saw the picture. Is this something she actually drew? This is the picture I drew 2 years ago. The flash of lightning were so bright all I could see were shadows. After that I must have fainted. This picture shows exactly what I saw that instant.
To think a flash of lightning could burn such an image in your mind.
Thanks to that though, she was able to show us exactly what she saw.
Well, I don't see any contradictions here. This clearly shows Joe Dark about to murder prosecutor Neil Marshall. The defense may now begin its cross-examination.
Alrighty then.
Did you draw this picture right after the incident?
I think I drew it 2 or 3 days later. At first, I was in such a state of shock that I couldn't do anything.
During that time, the detective team was reorganized. Detective Goodman was placed in charge, under the direction of Damon Gunn and Ema Skye.
2 or 3 days later. The memory should still have been fresh in her mind.
Excuse me, witness? But can you please tell us why this picture is painted all black?
The flash of lightning was so bright, all I could see were shadows. So at the time you didn't even know it was Mr. Marshall who had to came to your rescue? No, I couldn't see him clearly. The lightning was so bright, and I was knocked to the floor.
You were knocked to the floor.
Dark had a tight grip on me, but when Mr. Marshall jumped on him, I was knocked away. I turned around, and that was when the lightning flashed.
Poor Emma. I'm just glad she wasn't hurt. What happened after the lightning flashed?
You mean you didn't see the actual murder take place? No, I'm sorry.
The flash of lightning only drove off the darkness for a split second. Not only that, but the trauma of the situation understandably caused the witness to faint. Do you really need to torture this girl any further?
What?
Hey, I'm not the bad guy here.
Anyway, this picture shows exactly what I saw that instant.
Sorry for asking so many times, but are you sure you drew exactly what you saw?
Of course, this is exactly the scene.
It wasn't influenced in any way from your talks with the detectives? Are you insinuating we somehow manipulated her memory, Mr. Wright?
No, of course not. I better watch out or he might find some way to cut my salary. I drew this picture before I heard anything from the detectives, so I don't think anyone's story would have influenced me.
Mr. Wright, is there something that's bothering you about this picture?
Huh? Oh, well... That's strange. She claims this is exactly the scene that was imprinted in her mind. And yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. This is the picture. Okay, and yet, there's clearly a contradiction here. What was the weapon? What am I supposed to use? What was the murder weapon? Who was the victim? Who was the guy? That's my question.
Why?
List of evidence remaining.
Why is it like this?
I don't get it. What was the point of that? Yeah, I'm gonna look it up because I have no idea. Stabbed in the back from the puncture heart. Neil Marshall, male, date and time of death, February 19, 7 p.m. to 7:30, cause of death, single stab wound, piercing heart and lung, died from bloodlust in under 10 minutes, weapon found in the wound was missing tip. He was stabbed in the back, right? stabbed in the back, but this shows. There you go. I hate to bear of bad news, but this picture the witness drew contains a blatant contradiction. What? But I still remember it just like it was yesterday.
Mr. Wright, perhaps it would be faster if you simply pointed out this contradiction for us. What part of this picture contradicts the autopsy report? Please tell me it's just the chest. Because if this is him, please tell me it's this. Please tell me it's that. I think it's this part here. Huh? I don't see what's so strange about that.
That's because the drawing stinks. What?
Okay, fast forward this, cause fast forward. Fast forward. The knife. There you go.
If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. Because I went for the picture of the guy because the statement says he was stabbed in the back, so he's probably facing forward. If you look closely, you can see its tip is broken. I was going for the back part.
In fact, you don't even have to look closely to see that.
But Mr. Wright, look at the evidence. See the murder weapon? Its tip is broken too.
If I recall, the tip of the knife was found broken off in the victim's body.
That was the conclusive piece of evidence that proved Joe Dark was the murderer. I'm afraid it's not so simple, Emma.
Objection!
Huh? Why would you possibly see a problem?
It's obvious, really. The victim suffered a single stab wound to the back. If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
What's the meaning of this? Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand.
Sorry, but I'm afraid that's not possible. The tip of the knife was found inside the victim's body. If it was broken beforehand, it couldn't possibly wind up there.
That's right. But what does this mean? The tip of the knife was undeniably discovered within the victim's body. The only possible explanation is the witness' memory is mistaken.
That's why I asked her so many times if she was sure she remembered correctly. I believe you were annoyed at that time, but she was sure she, oh my god, was remembered correctly.
But there's no other way to explain this inconsistency.
Not so fast, Mr. Edgeworth. There's another explanation. Have you forgotten already about a little something called falsified evidence?
You're trending on thin ice, right?
All I'm saying is that this broken knife might be the piece of evidence that was forged. You can't deny the possibility.
No. Ah! Order! Are you saying the investigation really was corrupted?
Your Honor, please allow me to once again go over the events that took place that day of the murder. The police department and the prosecutor's office were holding a ceremony that day.
Okay.
After receiving the King of Prosecutors Award at the ceremony, Neil Marshall questioned Joe Dark along with Damon Gant. During his questioning, Joe Dark fled to the room. Prosecutor Marshall chased after him and was killed by Dark. It is my belief that somewhere in this story, there is a lie. I'm not lying. The man really was holding up a broken knife.
If that's true, then there is no other way around it. This could not have been the actual murder weapon. There must have been another broken knife. What are the chances of there being two broken knives?
Another broken knife besides Joe Dark's. Could there have been one?
Is there a right and wrong answer? Because they're basically saying she's mistaken of what happened that day, and there is another weapon. So we're gonna go for this. If the witness is this adamant about the accuracy of what she saw, it can't just be explained away by a simple observational error.
Mr. Wright?
In that instant, Emma really did see a broken knife. I assume, Dan, that you have some information about this other broken knife? If so, please feel free to enlighten us.
The murder weapon was already broken prior to the murder. There is only one way.
Take a look at this. Here's a real murder weapon. I'm gonna go for the picture first, and then well, wait, back it up. That thing was updated last I checked. We're gonna go for two things. This and the picture, because this was updated 2 years ago, giving it. So let's go. If anything's broken here, it's you.
Huh?
I'm sure this must be all very misty, Mr. Wright. Oh, come on! So it is the picture. Okay, it's gotta be this then. The answer lies in the past. Right here inside this picture. I mean, they were both the same thing, it's just the other one was updated. This is the picture of this award site. Oh! What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? It's the broken murder weapon. Notice the award prosecutor marshal is holding? Every doubt second guesses.
That's a broken knife?
As we clearly concluded, the knife in the picture was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood this award. Order! Neil Marshall was awarded King of Prosecutors that day. As an award, he was given this broken shield and a broken knife. When he was chased after Joe Dark, he put out this knife. Being a prosecutor, he did not carry a pistol. This broken knife was the only weapon he had in this dangerous situation. Objection! But that can't be. Oh, and why not, Mr. Edgeworth? Because if the King of Prosecutors Award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed.
What do you mean?
I mean, this man raising a knife would have to been Prosecutor Neil Marshall.
Oh.
Well, the prosecutor was the one who actually died.
That's true. What's going on here?
I'd say Mr. Wright has been a bit too eager to jump to conclusions. Hold it.
Wait! I remember now. I remember everything.
Witness?
Mr. Edgeworth.
What is it?
Could you show me your evidence list again, please?
Here's the list. This one with the picture scribbled on the back?
I knew it. This picture. I'm the one who drew it.
What? You drew that?
That's right. The list wasn't torn in half at the time I drew this picture.
Why does the blue badger come and haunt us every time?
All this time I've been trying so hard to forget. I must have locked this part away deep inside me.
Perhaps it would be best if we added this to the witness testimony. Would you like please tell us what you recall, Miss Skye?
Yes, Your Honor.
First the knife mix-up and now the blue badger? This should be interesting. How much more do we have? How much more do I have? Because we're already at like 30 minutes plus. Yeah, let me double check. No, not this website. Something to do. Let's check it out. How much more? How much more? How much more? Not this, not that. Not that. Not that. Where's that website? I got so many things in the histories list. What the heck? Somewhere around here. 'Cause I know
it would be right there. Okay, let's check it out. What am I missing? How much more do we have? Oh, sure, that's not trial day former. How much more? Yeah, we can keep going for an entire hour. We can go for an hour right here, if we must. Because we go, yeah, this could be an hour. When I saw that man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. I think I knocked away the man with the knife. Just then, there was another flash of lightning, and that's when I saw the blue badger. He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw his shadow.
This is certainly most unusual. Try impossible. The head detective of criminal affairs didn't even design him until this year.
That would mean he didn't even exist 2 years ago.
Yes, well, the defense may now begin his cross-examination.
Stop! Please, don't pursue this any further.
Lana! What's the meaning of this? Please remain seated in the defendant's chair.
But you can't do this. I've already confessed to the crime. Why can't you just leave it at that?
Chief Prosecutor Skye. We've already come this far. It's too late to turn back. Silence! Defense will now begin its cross-examination. Bailiff, please detain the defendant.
It seems we're finally getting to the core of the matter. Alrighty then. Ema's recollection. When I saw the man raise his knife, I panicked and rushed toward both of them. Why would you do something so dangerous? What else could have done? He was about to stab Mr. Marshall. She seems convinced that Dark was the one holding the knife.
But as we just theorized, Mr. Marshall was the one holding the knife.
Well, I didn't know that at the time. When that Dark guy knocked me down, all I could think was I got to tell Mr. Marshall. What do you mean, you think? It all happened so fast, and I was in shock. I don't remember everything clearly. What I did, it was all kind of a blur.
In a matter of just a few seconds, Miss Skye was almost killed. Then she witnessed a murder about to take place. A little disorientation is only natural.
I saw the man about to stab the other person who I thought was Mr. Marshall. I knew I had to stop the man with the knife.
What you did was very brave, young girl. So then what happened next?
Just there was another flash of light. Are you sure about this? Of course. See? I even drew a picture of him here.
But the head detective of criminal affairs thought this hideous beast, and now it's just this year. Hideous beast. The blue badger didn't exist 2 years ago. This is all quite verifiable.
I know it sounds strange. I was surprised too when I saw him at the police department. I had this nagging feeling that I'd seen him before somewhere. Now I finally remember. Oh, brother, just when you thought this thing had caused enough commotion.
Tell us, where in the room did you see him dancing?
He wasn't in the room, but I'm sure I saw a shadow. His shadow? So you mean you didn't actually see his face with its winning smile at all? That's right, but I still remember it. He had 3 creepy horns.
This is pointless. That thing couldn't have possibly existed 2 years ago. The witness must be mistaken.
That may well be. But what's important is what caused her to think she saw what she did.
Oh, I suppose you have an explanation? If so, then, by all means, please tell us what this shadow really was.
What was it Ema saw when the lightning flashed? Who is this blue badger, really? I might know? Why? Please tell me. Oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. The blue badger hadn't even been dreamed up when Ema drew this picture, yet she certainly saw its shadow. Ladies and gentlemen, it is the defense belief that on the fateful day 2 years ago, there indeed was something that looked similar to that blue badger. Something that is now sitting in this very room. Mr. Wright!
In this room? Very well, Mr. Wright. What is that witness saw in that instant? Please show us that mysterious blue badger look-alike. I mean, I was about to look for hints, but then this picture showed up, so we gotta do what we gotta do.
Take that!
The mysterious blue badger was, in fact, this.
But that's... what exactly is that?
I believe it's some sort of jar. But Mr. Wright, that doesn't look anything like the blue badger. Indeed it doesn't. As it stands now, it's just a plain jar. However, what if we were to change our viewpoint?
Our viewpoint?
I've got to show them that the correct angle to look at this form. Ugh, disgusting. Why are we playing the Blue Badger theme song? I'll never understand. This. That. Is this correct? It doesn't matter which way, right? No, wait, it does. Like this? Is this correct? Nope, not that. How slightly it... Like that? I mean, I can make this crooked as it is. It's not gonna be accurate. Here we go.
Take that!
Well, is this a miracle of what? No one can possibly deny this jar's resemblance to the Blue Badger.
No. It can't be. Order! The defense has proven its claim. The mysterious Blue Badger witness on the day of the crime was actually this. Although we all enjoyed Mr. Wright's dramatic performance, one question remains. What's your point?
What do you mean?
So that black badger thing was actually just a jar. That doesn't change anything.
I'm afraid that's where you're wrong, Mr. Edgeworth. You see, this changes everything.
Indeed. Very well then, please tell us. What difference now that we know the witness saw this jar?
The location? The murder weapon? What's different now that we know the witness saw this jar? The murder weapon? The location? I mean, we're not gonna get penalized. Allow me to take these in turn. At the moment of the murder, the witness saw this jar.
Not only that, but she saw it at a very specific angle.
Knowing this, where could she have seen this jar?
Where?
The location of the jar is shown in the picture taken on the day of the crime. It's on the shelf in the office of Damon Gant.
But the body was found lying near Ema Skye's desk. The witness testified so herself.
Yes, and it's these two facts that reveal what actually transpired. You see, the struggle between Dark and Marshall did not take place in Ema Skye's office. It happened on the other side of the room in Chief Gant's office.
Are you supplying the murderer moved the victim's body from Damon Gant's office to Ema Skye's office?
Yes.
Why would he do that? There's no reason.
Exactly. If there wasn't a reason, he wouldn't have gone through the trouble. The only logical conclusion is that there was a reason.
Do you know what the reason was, Mr. Wright?
I don't get it. I finally figure it out. So this is why Lana tried to stop the trial. It's too late to quit now, though. I don't get it. Please recall the witness's testimony. She said she knocked away the man who was holding up the knife. Okay. In the next instant, the jar was hit. And flew through the air. What? Now tell me, what could have sent the jar flying?
That would have to been the impact the man made when he was knocked into the wall.
Ladies and gentlemen, if I may draw your attention to this picture once more. If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit? Ah!
A suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword.
Yes. And since the man who was knocked into the armor was carrying a broken knife, he would have to been Neil Marshall, winning the prosecutor's award.
No, Mr. Wright, you can't be thinking.
Yes, there's another possibility of what actually transpired in that room.
Another possibility?
Of course, the perpetrator would have no idea, but nevertheless, I don't know if I can go through with this.
Mr. Wright, what's the matter? If events took place as the defense theorized, then the outcome is obvious. In that moment, assuming the man Ema Skye knocked away was actually prosecutor Neil Marshall.
She killed him. Okay, awkward silence. You mean Mr. Marshall died because of me? No!
She fainted. I never imagined her testimony would lead to this. So it was the witness who took the victim's life, and then proved so with her own testimony. This is unprecedented, whatever.
Precedented. Objection! What? What are you saying? I'm sorry, Miss Skye, but given the circumstances... Joe Dark murdered Prosecutor Marshall. How can you think it was Emma? How dare you try to pin the crime on her?
Imagine that coming from you. If you recall, it was you who admitted to forging evidence 2 years ago. The reason you moved to Prosecutor Marshall's body was to keep anyone else from finding out about what Emma did, wasn't it?
I assure you, Mr. Edward, I have no idea what you're talking about. If you hope to have anyone to believe your insane allegations, I'm afraid you're going to have proof. Tell me, do you have any conclusive evidence that proves my sister killed Neil Marshall? Evidence? I'm willing to bet you don't.
Yes, it certainly would be difficult to prove this with evidence. If we don't have evidence, then we'll have to rely on testimony.
I'm afraid that won't work in this case. Both parties involved in the incident are dead. We certainly can't get dead people to testify. This has all been a wild goose chase from the beginning.
Huh, touche, Miss Skye. Of course, that only leaves us with one possibility.
You mean there's still another possibility?
What do you mean, Mr. Edgeworth? I mean the possibility that the victim has left us a message. For better or for worse, Mr. Marshall did not die instantly. He may have left behind the name of the person who took his life. Somehow.
That's impossible.
Well, Mr. Wright, this is the only possibility left to you. A message from the deceased. Does such a message exist?
I've got to think back to the court record. The real murderer's name that victim have left behind is in the evidence. It doesn't matter which you choose. If that's true, the murderer will have. If so, there's no going back now. Okay, go down. Recall the testimony. She said she raised it up. When she did, she knocked him over. Oh god, so that explains why. This message from the disease is already in our possession. Mr. Wright, will you stop at nothing to prove my sister's a murderer?
Do not be mistaken, Miss Skye. Our purpose is not to accuse Emma of any crime. There is only one thing we seek. The truth. no matter how painful it may be. Now then, Mr. Wright, please show us the piece of evidence that conveys a message from the disease. Back it up.
Take that!
This is the message left by the disease.
This is that blue badger from before, right?
Oh, is he going to just speak the killer's name?
If that thing could, I'm sure it would.
Looks like everyone's forgotten this is just a jar. A message was left here on the surface of this jar.
What do you mean?
If you look closely, you can see a faint trail of blood on this jar. I thought it was like a footprint.
It looks like someone wiped the blood away.
Yes, but notice, for some reason, the blood on some of the fragments was not wiped away.
Yes, there's a line here, drawn in blood. So what you're saying is these dots were once lines.
Prosecutor Marshall did not die instantly. He used the few precious moments left to him to leave behind a message.
One that someone apparently wiped away. But blood must have seeped into the jar where the lines changed directions.
Precisely so. All we need to do is connect these points, and the victim's message will become apparent. No!
Mr. Wright, what kind of message did that victim leave us?
Your Honor, I believe these bloodstains will reveal to us the answer. I've got to connect these dots to make letters. There's only one thing the victim would have written given the circumstances. The murderer's name. Oh, it's playtime. What the heck are we doing? Okay, this is the first time we're doing this. Okay. Okay. Where's the next part? Okay. 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 Are we done? Are we done? I mean, we could just write out random names, but no. No, we can't connect anything? Okay.
Take that!
It's a defense attorney's duty to prove his client's innocence. That's what all I've been thinking about is saving Ilana. After all my efforts, I never thought it would turn out like this. Emma.
So this is the final message Prosecutor Marshall left behind. Of all people, she may not have meant it, but in the end, the one who took the victim's life
Was Ema Skye. Alrighty then.
Say, why they can't say I didn't warn you? Chief Gaunt, do you understand the implications of what you've done? What? What are you talking about? 2 years ago, Joe Dark was sentenced to death. He was convicted because of his final murder. I believe you were the prosecutor in the case, were you not? Yes, Worthy. Because of you, an innocent man was sentenced to death. Not only that, but you used forged evidence to ensure his conviction.
Objection!
But Joe Dark really was a serial murderer. That's undeniable.
I'm afraid that's not important. Didn't you know we are defenders of justice?
What?
We're merely keepers of the law. Sentencing a man to death is no light matter, even if there wasn't any cover-up evidence or forgery. Ultimately, the responsibility falls on the prosecutor in charge. Despite what anyone may say, this fact cannot be denied. The crowd goes wild. Here we go. Order!
Dang, within an hour too. The gavel's pounding fell on deaf ears. Unable to settle the crowd, the judge declared a recess. Where this trial is headed, no one knows.
And with that, we'll end today's episode right here, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure that like button comes important. If you're new, bring like a subscribe, the show goes like Steven. I'm signing out.